Sometimes the smallest choice in a single moment can redirect the entire course of a life. That's exactly what happened to a young woman named Maya Johnson, whose decision at a crowded train station set in motion events she never could have imagined. It was rush hour at Central Terminal in Detroit, and trains were roaring in and out, packed with commuters desperate to get home. Maya wasn't just another passenger. For her, catching the 2:30 train meant everything. She was on her way to a final interview for a position that could rescue her family from years of struggle. Missing it meant no second chance. But destiny has a way of testing us when we least expect it. And as Maya sprinted toward the platform, clutching her folder of carefully prepared resumes, she noticed him, an older man slumped against a bench, gripping his chest, gasping for air, nearly invisible to the endless stream of people rushing by. Everyone looked away. Nobody stopped. Her train doors were still open. 30 seconds left. She could run forward and secure her family's future, or she could stop. The stranger's eyes locked on hers, wide with fear. And in that split second, Maya made the choice that would change her life forever. The day had started long before this moment. At 4:15 a.m., Maya's alarm cut through the darkness of her tiny one-bedroom apartment. She rolled out of bed slowly, careful not to wake her younger sister Lena, who was curled up under a thin blanket on the pull-out couch. Their parents had passed away in a car accident 2 years earlier, leaving Maya with the responsibility of raising Lena while juggling 2 jobs. In the bathroom mirror, Maya stared at the circles under her eyes, dark, heavy, permanent from months of exhaustion. But she forced a smile anyway. Today wasn't just another day of endless work. Today was her shot at a life where Lena didn't have to live with secondhand books and dollar store calculators. By 5 a.m., she was walking down empty sidewalks toward the corner diner where she worked mornings. The air was sharp and cold, her thin coat no match for the wind that whipped down the streets. She whispered to herself, "Just one more shift. Just get through this shift." Inside Rosie's diner, the familiar sound of clattering dishes greeted her. "Morning, superstar," shouted Tom, the cook who'd been there for 20 years. Maya forced her tired grin again and tied on her apron. For the next 6 hours, she poured coffee for construction workers, balanced trays for office employees glued to their phones, and pocketed the meager tips they left behind. When the shift finally ended, she slipped into the storage room, pulled out the crumpled bills from her pocket, and counted. $21.84, that was it. Almost 7 hours on her feet and not even enough to cover groceries. Her chest tightened. Rent was due in 4 days. Utilities were already past due. And Lena had been waiting for money to buy supplies for her chemistry class. Every dollar felt like a reminder of how far behind they were. Walking home, Maya passed the glittering high-rises downtown. She always slowed near one tower that dwarfed the skyline. Stonewell Enterprises, a company she'd admired from afar for years. She imagined what it would be like to walk through those glass doors not as a cleaner or delivery girl, but as someone who belonged, someone who had earned her place. Back at their cramped apartment, Lena sat at the chipped kitchen table surrounded by worn textbooks borrowed from the library. She looked up when Maya walked in. "How was work?" Maya forced brightness into her voice. "Good, busy. What are you working on?" Maya asked, sliding into the chair across from her. "Organic chemistry. It's hard. But I think I'm getting it." Lena's face lit up as she added, "And I found a scholarship. The application's due Friday. If I get it, it'll cover most of next semester." Maya's heart warmed and ached at the same time. Lena had inherited their mother's sharp mind, and she deserved so much more than second-hand education. But every opportunity seemed to come with a price tag they couldn't afford. Her phone buzzed suddenly. An unknown number. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Is this Maya Johnson?" a crisp voice asked. "Yes. This is Caroline from Stonewell Enterprises. We reviewed your application for the administrative assistant position. We'd like you to come in today for an interview at 3:00 p.m. For a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. Stonewell Enterprises, the company she passed every day, the job that paid $47,000 a year with benefits, healthcare, vacation, security. It was more than she'd ever dreamed of earning. Yes, I'll be there," Maya said, her hands trembling. After hanging up, she looked at Lena, eyes wide. That was Stonewell. "They want to see me today." Lena's face broke into a grin. "Maya, that's huge." "You're going to crush it." Maya nodded, already calculating. $47,000 a year meant rent paid on time, a real desk for Lena, maybe even one bedroom each instead of sharing. For the first time in years, the future didn't look impossible. She opened her wallet. $21.84 from tips plus $12 she'd hidden last week. $33.84. Enough for a train ticket downtown and maybe a sandwich afterward. She'd figure out the rest later. As she slipped her resume into a folder and straightened her shoulders, she whispered to Lena, "Wish me luck." "You don't need luck," Lena replied with quiet certainty. "You've got this." At 2:15 p.m., Maya hurried toward Central Terminal, clutching her folder. The station buzzed with energy as commuters rushed past. She checked her phone. Perfect timing. The train would get her downtown just in time to arrive early, exactly as the email instructed. Her stomach growled, but she ignored it. She hadn't eaten since yesterday's leftover bread, but today wasn't about hunger. Today was about opportunity. As she approached the platform, the skies opened without warning. Rain poured down in sheets, soaking her thin jacket in seconds. People scattered under overhangs, pushing and shoving. Maya pressed forward, eyes on the train doors. The conductor was already calling final boarding. That's when she saw him. An older man in a charcoal coat sat alone on a bench, drenched by the storm, gripping a leather briefcase. His head sagged, his skin pale and gray, his breathing sharp and shallow. His lips moved silently as if he were trying to form words but couldn't. "Final call for the 2:30. The conductor shouted. Maya froze. The train. Her interview. Her entire future was 20 feet ahead of her. But the man's eyes, clouded with fear, found hers. His lips parted and a single word escaped in a whisper that pierced through the chaos. "Please." Her heart pounded. 10 seconds. Run and she could save her future. Stay and she might save his life. What would you do? Maya dropped her folder and ran toward him. Up close, the man's face looked worse. Beads of sweat mixed with rain slid down his pale cheeks. His trembling fingers clutched the briefcase so tightly his knuckles had turned white. "Sir, can you hear me?" Maya asked, her voice shaking. His lips parted, his words broken. "My chest can't breathe." Maya's hands fumbled for her phone. "Stay with me. I'm calling for help." Her voice wavered as she spoke into the phone. 911? "I'm at Central Terminal. An elderly man's having chest pains. He's conscious but struggling to breathe. Please hurry." The train roared away behind her, taking with it her chance at the job interview she'd dreamed about. She shut her eyes for half a second. Then she looked back down at him. She'd made her choice. "Help is coming," she whispered, loosening his tie with trembling hands. The man blinked slowly. Who are you?" Maya Johnson." "And you?" He coughed, struggling. Robert Hale." Maya kept her voice steady even as her heart raced. "I'm not leaving, Robert." "You're not alone." Minutes later, flashing red and blue lights cut through the storm. Paramedics rushed toward them with a stretcher. "What's his condition?" Juan asked. "Chest pains, shortness of breath, confusion," Maya reported quickly. "His name is Robert Hale." The lead paramedic, a woman with sharp eyes and steady hands, knelt beside him. "Robert, I need you to stay with me." She began taking his vitals while her partner readied the oxygen. Robert's grip tightened around Maya's hand. His voice came out a whisper. "Please, don't go." The paramedic glanced at Maya. "Are you family?" "No," Maya admitted. "But he doesn't have anyone else here." The paramedic hesitated, then nodded. "Come on, ride with us." They lifted Robert onto the stretcher. As they rolled him into the ambulance, Maya's phone buzzed again. Stonewell Enterprises. Her stomach twisted. They were waiting for her. But looking at Robert's trembling hand reaching for hers, she pressed decline. The ambulance door slammed shut, and Maya climbed inside. The ride to St. Mary's Hospital blurred by in sirens and flashing lights. Robert's breathing was shallow, his words scattered. "My meeting," he mumbled, his eyes darting toward the skyline flashing by outside. "Important deal. They're waiting." "Don't worry about any meeting," Maya said firmly. "Just breathe. Focus on staying with me." Inside the hospital, doctors rushed Robert into the emergency ward. Maya sank into a plastic chair in the waiting room, her damp clothes clinging to her skin, her folder of resumes crumpled and useless in her lap. Her phone buzzed again. Missed calls. Missed chances. She stared at the screen, torn between calling Stonewell to explain and admitting she'd thrown it all away. But what could she possibly say? "Sorry, I missed the interview because I chose to help a stranger collapse on a bench." Hours passed. Finally, a doctor appeared. Are you with Robert Hale? Maya stood quickly. Yes, how is he? He's stable. Appears to have suffered an anxiety-induced cardiac event complicated by dehydration. We've adjusted his medication. He's asking for you. Relief rushed through her body. She nodded and followed the doctor to his room. Robert was sitting up when she entered, his color returning, his breathing steady. He looked at her with surprising clarity. "There's my guardian angel," he said, his voice rough but strong. Maya gave a small laugh of relief. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Because of you." He studied her face. "You know you saved my life today. I just did what anyone should do." Robert shook his head. "No, I saw dozens walk by me." They looked away. "But you stopped. You sacrificed something important, didn't you?" Maya looked down at the soggy folder in her hands. "I had an interview today. For a job I've been praying for." Robert's expression turned sharp. "Where?" "Stonewell Enterprises," she said quietly. "Administrative assistant. It would have been the first step toward something better. I missed it." For a moment Robert said nothing. His eyes narrowed as if something had just clicked. Before she could ask, the door swung open. A man in his 40s wearing a tailored suit rushed in. His resemblance to Robert was undeniable. "Dad," the man exclaimed, hurrying to the bedside. "When your driver called and said you never showed up, I thought—" He stopped when he saw Maya. "Who's this?" Robert's voice was firm. "This young woman saved my life." The man turned to Maya, gratitude written all over his face. "Thank you, truly, you have no idea how much this means." Robert nodded. She gave up her future to help a stranger. Maya flushed, uncomfortable with the weight of their gratitude, but then the sun added something that froze her in place. "Dad, the board postponed the Stonewell acquisition meeting until we found you. The documents you had with you, if we'd lost those—" He trailed off, shaking his head. Maya's heart stuttered. She looked from the sun to Robert. "Wait, Stonewell? Did you say Stonewell?" Robert studied her face carefully. "Yes, the company. You said you applied there?" Her voice dropped. I was supposed to interview today." Robert exchanged a meaningful look with his son. Then he turned back to Maya. "My dear, Stonewell Enterprises isn't just a company. It's my company. I founded it 40 years ago." The room seemed to tilt around her. She gripped the chair for balance. The man she'd stayed behind to help, the man whose life she'd chosen over her own future, wasn't just anyone. He was the founder of the very company she had dreamed of working for. Her voice cracked. "I had no idea." Robert gave a faint smile. "Which makes what you did all the more extraordinary." But this was only the beginning. What Maya didn't know was that the stranger she'd saved wasn't only going to thank her. He was about to make an offer so life-changing, it would ripple through her family, her city, and far beyond. Because sometimes the most important interviews don't happen in office boardrooms. They happen in the moments when no one is watching. Maya sat in stunned silence as Robert's words echoed in the sterile hospital room. "You mean, you're the founder of Stonewell Enterprises?" she asked. Robert gave a gentle nod. "That's right. I built it from nothing. And today you built something even greater. You proved to me that decency still exists." His son, Daniel Hale, stepped closer. "Miss Johnson, if my father had collapsed alone, we could have lost not just him but a $500 million deal that thousands of jobs depended on. But you, someone who had no reason to stop, changed the outcome. You changed everything." Maya's throat tightened. "I wasn't thinking about that. I just couldn't leave him there." "That," Robert said firmly, "is exactly why you're remarkable." The next morning, Maya's phone rang. It was Caroline from Stonewell Enterprises. Maya braced for rejection. "We understand you missed your interview yesterday," Caroline said. Maya's chest sank. "Yes, we'd like to reschedule. Today at 2 p.m., are you available?" Maya froze. Yes, absolutely yes, she didn't know it yet. But this wasn't going to be an ordinary interview. By mid-afternoon, Maya walked through the glittering glass doors of Stonewell's headquarters for the first time. Her heart pounded as she gazed at portraits lining the lobby walls, founders, milestones, legacies. Her eyes landed on the largest portrait, Robert Hale himself, decades younger, smiling confidently. Caroline led her upstairs. "We've arranged something different for you today. Someone special asked to meet you." When the office door opened, Maya nearly stumbled. Robert Hale sat behind a mahogany desk, looking strong, dressed sharply. Daniel standing beside him. There she is, Robert said with warmth. My guardian angel. Caroline blinked in surprise. Wait, you two know each other? She's the woman who saved my life, Robert explained. Maya's pulse hammered in her ears. I didn't expect this. Robert leaned forward. Maya, you didn't just rescue me from a medical crisis. You revealed something that no resume could. Character, integrity, courage. And those matter more than any degree or title. Maya swallowed. Does this mean I still have a chance? Robert's eyes softened. Not just a chance. Something better. Daniel placed a folder on the desk and slid it across. Maya opened it, her breath catching. $85,000 a year, she whispered, hardly able to process the number. That's the starting salary, Robert confirmed, as my personal executive assistant. Benefits, healthcare, everything you and your sister need. But more than that, I'll mentor you myself. You'll learn strategy, leadership, the heart of this company. Maya blinked back tears. Why me? I don't have the right experience. I just serve coffee and clean floors. Robert shook his head. Experience can be taught. Integrity cannot. And yesterday, when it mattered most, you chose kindness over ambition. That tells me more than any resume ever could, Daniel added. And that's not all. You told my father about your sister. The Stonewell Foundation will fund her education fully. 4 years, graduate school, whatever she dreams. We'll cover it. Maya's knees weakened. You can't be serious, Robert smiled. Completely serious. This isn't charity, it's recognition. You made a choice that reshaped lives, including mine. Now it's my turn to invest in yours. Tears streamed down Maya's face. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Robert said gently. Say you're ready to change your life. With trembling hands, Maya reached across the desk and shook his. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I am. 6 months later, the transformation was undeniable. Maya no longer dragged herself through double shifts at the diner. She walked into Stonewell headquarters each morning in tailored suits, carrying reports and proposals that she now helped prepare. Robert had become more than a boss. He was her mentor, even her friend. Lena was thriving at a top university, studying chemistry with new textbooks and a scholarship that covered every expense. She often told her sister, "You gave me this chance." But Maya always replied, "No, kindness did." And the ripple effects didn't stop there. Stonewell adopted what they called the Kindness First Initiative, a program born directly from Maya's story. Employees were encouraged to prioritize helping others without fear of punishment. Volunteer programs exploded. Scholarships were handed out. Partnerships with schools and communities multiplied. Reporters called it the Stonewell model. Other companies began asking how they could do the same. And Robert? The once cynical titan of industry now rode the train twice a week, just to remind himself what it felt like to see the world from the ground. It keeps me honest, he told Maya one morning with a wink. 2 years later, the story came full circle. Maya was hurrying through Central Terminal again, this time as Director of Community Relations at Stonewell. She was late for a speaking engagement, her train minutes from departure. Then she saw him. An elderly man hunched on the very same bench where Robert had collapsed 2 years before. Tears streaked his cheeks as he clutched an envelope. Maya slowed. The train doors were open. But she remembered. She knew. Sir, are you all right? She asked. My granddaughter's graduation, he whispered in accented English. First in our family. But I can't find the place. Maya looked at the envelope. Northwestern University. Nursing school graduation. Her heart leapt. She recognized the name. His granddaughter had been one of the very first recipients of the Stonewell Scholarship Initiative she had helped design. Her throat tightened. I know exactly where to take you. Let's go together. She canceled her speaking engagement, hailed a taxi and walked the man into the auditorium, where he watched his granddaughter cross the stage with tears in his eyes. Thank you, he whispered to Maya. Not just today, but for making this possible. That evening, as she rode the train home, Maya thought about the circle of kindness. How one missed train had changed everything, not just for her, but for hundreds of others. The next morning, Robert announced a new policy at Stonewell. No employee would ever be punished for being late if they had stopped to help someone in need. Because at Stonewell Enterprises, they had learned the truth. The most important meetings in life aren't the ones in boardrooms. They're the ones that happen when someone reaches out and says, "Please help me." And sometimes the choice to stop is the choice that changes the world.